How do you build $1 million business before you're even 25 and then you launch a product that sells more than 3 million copies? These are the questions that I asked Mimi Ikonn, an entrepreneur and a blogger from London, when I hosted a Q&A for her here at the University of Cambridge. Hi, I'm Violetta, and on this channel, I talk about Cambridge, manifestations, and I also interview prominent figures in their field. We talked with Mimi about her personal journey, about her business, and about her mindset. Enjoy the talk. Thank you everyone for coming. So let me briefly introduce Mimi. Mimi is an entrepreneur with a remarkable achievement of gaining more than $1 million at the age of 25 when you sold your first business, which is Luxy Hair. And it's still on the global market, isn't it?
Absolutely. They're doing well.
You're also an influencer with an overall audience reaching 1 million followers on both Instagram and YouTube. And currently, Mimi is a co-founder of Intelligent Change Company, which is focused on the mindfulness products, which is also a 5-minute journal that you're lucky to have today. More than 2 million copies were sold, and right?
Yeah, that's correct.
It's also being featured in prominent journals such as Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, and
Actually today the New York Times printed an article that they did exclusively on us. So, pretty big accomplishment. They reached out to us. Very grateful. But sorry, I don't want to.
It is. And also lots of public figures in the journal. So it's Kris Jenner, Emma Watson, correct me if I'm mistaken.
Yeah, so many celebrities. Yeah.
So before we start, we have some questions previously submitted by the audience, but I know
Can I start with a little
exercise?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you all for being here today. I'm very, very grateful, especially during exam season. I know there's a lot of work you still have to do, and you feel like you want to get there, but you're not there yet. So really, really appreciate you all being here. And I want to start with a very simple exercise, because a lot of us, especially during exam season, spend a lot of time here in our heads. And I just want us to drop more into our hearts and into our bodies. So if you could please close your eyes right now. Take a nice deep breath. Put your right hand on your heart. And just think of one thing that you're grateful for in this very moment. It doesn't have to be anything big or spectacular. It could be something very, very simple. Maybe just the awareness that you are alive right now and you can breathe. So just stay with that feeling. Whatever comes to your mind, just to appreciate the moment that there's something in your life right now that you can be grateful for. Thank you. It's just a small moment to show you how easily again we can drop from the mind to the heart into our bodies. I think it's really important to practice that because there are so many health benefits, like Violetta just mentioned. 5-minute journal now sold more than 2 million copies, but really the way we started that business was because I personally, in my early 20s, struggled with a lot of anxiety and depression. And one of the ways that I got out of that darkness was learning meditation. That helped me a lot. And the second tool that I found out was really impactful on my mental well-being and physical mental well-being was practicing daily gratitude. So whenever we're stressed or anxious, it's such a simple tool that we can all use. And yes, it's nice to have a journal. I brought you all a little gift, and I hope you can create this habit. Please commit to it for 21 days, and I guarantee you, your life will be changed, but you gotta do the work. It's very important. Just like with physical exercise, just understanding the concept of gratitude is not enough. If you practice it, you will actually feel it, but you gotta commit to the practice. But yeah, for all of you joining, thank you for being here today. Really appreciate it. I'm Mimi Ikonn, and I'm, like Violetta said, co-founder of Intelligent Change. It's been now 11 years that we've launched the business. Before that, my co-founder Luxy Hair and I, we had a beauty business that was started straight out of college. Like I actually dropped out of college. I was having conversation with a couple of people today, and just reminiscing on my journey. I went to college for international business. I kind of knew I wanted to do business, And but my family were immigrants in Toronto, and I was supporting them. So like I was working 2 jobs and going to school, and at one point I took accounting, and I was like, oh gosh, I will never pass accounting unless I do extra tutoring, and I couldn't do that because I had 2 jobs because I was helping my parents pay for mortgage. And in the end I thought, you know what, one day when I'll have a business, I'll just hire an accountant. I know I can do it, but I don't recommend dropping out of school, by the way. I love school, I'm all about learning, and I think actually, in fact, when you graduate, that's like when the real life starts, and you never stop learning. I'm always learning so much about everything, and yeah, I think it's such a blessing to be in your position, because all of you are very, very privileged. I know when you're in school sometimes, again, if you don't feel that appreciation, and like sometimes it's hard, maybe some of you do feel it, but like when you're stressed, you're like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, there's exams. But if you look at how lucky you are to be here, to have this community. Actually, a lot of you that I've talked to, I had the pleasure of talking to, have told me that like the community at here at Cambridge is so supportive, and I think that can make you, of course, see the, you know, all the positives rather than the negatives. But school can be challenging for sure. But I know you have a lot of questions, so I'm like taking over, but go ahead.
No, I actually have very different questions. So, you were born and raised in Azerbaijan, right?
Correct.
And then you went to Canada in your teenagehood.
Yeah, so I was 16 when my family immigrated to Toronto.
So you had just mentioned that gratitude was a powerful tool in order to face the anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So before coming to London and starting a whole new life here, how was it? What were the challenges for you? How did you end up having your own business? What challenges did you face at this time?
So I think, like intuitively, I always knew that my top value is freedom. And when freedom is your top value, you want to like kind of do things on your own terms. So I did work in corporate. I used to work for CIBC, which is one of the top banks in Canada, but I felt very constrained there. I knew that I could grow and become anything I want in that industry, but it didn't resonate with my values. So for me, I knew that entrepreneurship, or like doing my own thing, could be that ticket to freedom, like doing what I want, where I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want. And then at the bank, I met my former husband, Alex, and we really connected on this like vision. He also wanted to create a business, travel the world, and I was like, oh, we can want to do the same thing, like maybe we'll do something together. And eventually, actually, I quit the bank and he got fired for having a side hustle. He was shipping cars from US to Russia because he's from there originally. And then, so then what ended up happening is when he got fired from the bank, we read the book For Our Work Week. Have you heard of it? Have you guys heard of it? If you have, please raise your hand. I see a lot of heads nodding, great. So that was years ago. We read the book. At the time, I didn't have any friends who were entrepreneurs. I don't come from family of entrepreneurs. So for me, reading the book, I realized there are people in the world doing this right now, and if they can do it, then I can do it. So it was great inspiration. And then because I quit the bank and he got fired, like we had all this time and we like had to really figure out quickly. There was this desperation that we both had because I knew that I have about a year, and if I don't find a solution, if I don't start a business, I'll have to go back to corporate. And to me, that was a death sentence. I'm not saying corporate is bad, but to me, somebody who has freedom as a top value, you know that you'll be constrained. So then he proposed to me at the time, and I was like, not a great time, but yes. And then I bought clip-in hair extensions. Yeah, I bought clip-in hair extensions for the wedding, and they were horrible quality. The reason I'm sharing this story, because many of you maybe in this room will want to start your own business, and people always ask me like, Mimi, what business should I do? Like, where do I start? And it's like, well, I cannot tell you. What you can think of is so much better than what I can tell you. So going back to the story of like me buying these clip-in hair extensions, putting in my hair and thinking like, this is horrible. I cannot wear this to my wedding. And I was just complaining to my sister, but Alex happened to be in the room, and we just read the 4 Hour Work Week. So obviously we're like thinking of the muse, and the muse is basically something that will give you an inspiration to start a business. And Alex looked at us and he said, what's Cleveland Hair Extensions? Like, tell me more. And I'm like, well, there was a laptop, so I like opened like YouTube and showed him all these videos of the girls, the before and after of like short hair, like long hair. It's like you look completely, it's a transformational product, just like makeup, for example. And he looked at us and he's like, well, why don't we do it? Because like, we're not doing anything at the moment, or we really need to figure something out. And we just looked at each other, and it was one of those moments where you're like, oh, I think I'm onto something, but I have no clue how I'm gonna do it. So we were broke, because again, we didn't have jobs at the time. I had a line of credit, because I worked at a bank, so I had 15K line of credit, and he had a check from his mom, one of those Visa checks where you don't pay any interest for 6 months, but after you have to pay like 20%. So we literally had 6 months, and then he went on Alibaba and we ordered 10 different samples for Cleveland Hair Extensions. And the first one arrived, I put in my hair, and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. But I didn't want to get too excited because I'm like, I have 9 more samples coming in. And then the other 9 were horrible. So of course there's always an element of luck, right? Like we can do all the right things, but sometimes the universe, whatever, like higher power aligns you. And if you do the right things, the right people, the right opportunity, the right product manufacturer will come into your life. So we, from the idea, the conception to the launch, it was 2 months. Literally, like, unbelievable. But because we were desperate. I've had many other business ideas after, and I haven't launched, or it took me much longer because I'm no longer desperate. You know what I mean? So like desperation is that fire that sometimes you need to have in order to start a venture or a business or anything. Does that answer your question? I probably went off, but I think that's the whole point, is to tell the story a little bit.
Yes, exactly. Personal stuff is also it's always very important. So when you started Luxy Hair, it was different when you were starting Intelligent Change, right?
Mm-hmm.
What were the differences then? It was Luxy Hair, you were very insecure whether it's gonna work out or not?
Well, definitely there was insecurity. We didn't know what we were doing, but also we were motivated by making money. And I think there's nothing wrong with making money, because Alex and I will both come from very humble beginnings, obviously immigrant families. So it's like we wanted to just like make our first million, and we did actually in the first year, which again I took that year and a half in business school, so I know the percentage is not. It's only like what, 2%, like maybe less. Like who actually makes it in business? And for us to make our first million the first year, it was like literally flying to the moon. But quickly, I had this existential, almost panic attacks where I was like, so what am I doing? Am I just doing this for money? Like, what's the point then? Like, is the point just to make more money and like sell more stuff? It's a great problem to have when you're 25, you know? And I was like, okay, well, what do I actually want to do? And I think by asking the right questions, the right answers will come to you. And then, as again, I was struggling with anxiety, depression, and I was looking for answers, and I found what really helped me. We literally printed our first 1,000 copies of 5-Minute Journal, thinking if that never sells, we will just for the rest of our lives give it to our friends and family. But the funny story is, we were still living in Toronto at the time. Tim Ferriss, who wrote the 4-Hour Workweek, was in Toronto for an event. We had a mutual friend, so we gifted one of the journals to him, and he's actually in the acknowledgements. We created Luxy Hair because we got inspired by his book, and he was going through a very difficult time at the time, emotionally, and we gave him the journal, and we're like, thank you so much for inspiring us. This exists because of you. And to this day, he's been using it. It's been 11 years. He's promoted it so many times on his podcast and his other books. And you know, it works. It's a simple tool that makes such a huge difference, you know, in the way you feel, in the way you show up in the world. So I think when you are more genuine and you truly care about what you do, of course, the business will grow even bigger because you don't feel like you're selling. You never are selling when you genuinely care about what you do. And going back to like deciding on what business should I do if I do, I know I want to have a business, but I don't know what. What problem do you have right now that you can create a solution for? Whether it's a service that you wish existed or a product, what is it? Like, you know, there's so many products. Literally everything in this room is created by someone. This chair, these shoes, everything we're wearing, everything, these mics, it's all businesses, right? Somebody created these businesses because they saw an opportunity, it was not up to their standard, and they decided to make it better. So that is it. It's constantly like pushing the envelope. For hair extensions, the ones I bought were expensive and really bad quality. So I said, how can I do the same but create affordable extensions at a good price and cut the middleman? Because before, for example, people would go to salons and buy extensions at salons for hundreds of dollars, and we took the salon out of the way and just started selling them online, and people at the time were comfortable to start doing that. Again, it was 2010, so quite revolutionary for that time, right? Same with journals. When we launched, journaling was not a big thing, especially for men to admit that they're journaling. Men like to compare is quite masculine. And yet now, 11 years later, everybody's journaling. And we have so many copycats, 1-minute journal, 7-minute journal, whatever. It's okay. There's not for everyone. But it's like, it came from a genuine solution to a personal problem. And I think the best businesses are created for that.
Adding balance to the world, right? So, is there anything that you would have done differently to that?
In what way?
In your entrepreneurial journey?
Anything different? I don't know. I don't believe in regrets, but if I can think of anything, it's just like put yourself out there. Don't be afraid, because at the end of the day, making mistakes is how you learn. You are going to make mistakes all the time. I mean, how does a baby learn how to walk? It falls probably a gazillion times, like thousands and thousands of times. And we all at one point were that baby that was crawling and learning how to walk. You don't know until you do it, right? So like, put yourself out there. Don't be afraid, because most people are afraid. That's an easy way to stand out. It's just like go for it. Whether it's dating, whether it's starting a business, whether it's making new friends and building a community. Anything in life is all about facing your fears. And most people live in fear. And people who make it, people who have created all these businesses in this room, for example, who all have iPhones, right? Like, it's the people who thought really boldly and actually went for it. Many people have great ideas, but ideas are worth nothing. It's like whether you're going to take the action. But to take the action, you have to believe in yourself, and we've all been conditioned to think that we're the same, don't stand out, play it small. Well, where's that going to get you? Right?
And what do you think? What's the best way to fund your first business?
To fund the first business? Well, family and friends, if you have that kind of luxury. In my case, for example, family and friends didn't have money or believe in us, so we used the line of credit. But if you can find aligned investors who can become your mentors, that would be ideal. Don't just take money for the sake of taking money, because then again, you're gonna owe someone something, and you're gonna become an employee. Like, we've never raised money. Everything has always been self-funded, and again, to us, it goes back to our value of freedom, because I have friends who have businesses who have raised money, and then again, you have to report to, obviously, your investors and do certain things you might not want to do because it doesn't align with your values, but now you owe it to the investors, right? So I think angel investors, if you can find them, like, be out there, like, talk about your idea, and share with people that you admire, because you never know, they might believe in your idea, they might fund you, and you never know. Like, I have a friend who's an incredible entrepreneur. She has a beauty business called Tropics Skincare. Literally, is one of the most inspiring women. I think her business now does more than 50 million a year. And I think was on one of those shows like Dragon Den or something. And one of the hosts believed in her, invested, and he was very silent. But he's got 50% of the business. So she recently bought him out last year. Paid crazy amount, obviously, but she's also very grateful, because if it wasn't for his check, she also wouldn't be here. So he won, she won, and it's a beautiful story. But yeah, put yourself out there, and I think ultimately, don't be afraid to ask for people to. But you have to believe in your idea first to be able to get that.
Did you have any mentors before, and do you have any mentors now?
To be honest, I would say, yeah, like virtual mentors, not real life mentors. I didn't know anyone who, again, owned a business, literally. Like, it was very lonely the first couple of years. But I remember Alex and I would always have this dream of like having a community of entrepreneurs. So now years later, I would say 90% of my friends are entrepreneurs. So now it's not lonely anymore, but I had a lot of virtual mentors like Tim Ferriss, who, you know, you can learn from, or Anthony Robbins, you know, even though he's a public speaker, self-development guru, but also he's a great entrepreneur, and you can learn from people virtually. You can watch videos, you can read books. Even if you don't know these people in real life, they can become your virtual mentors. So yeah, so many people.
Very fostering environment. And now, yeah, I know that you have the different summits organized by Interventions, right? But it's quite a recent thing. How did you come up with the idea of doing it?
So yeah, we have different events, smaller ones as well. If you guys are ever in London, we now do monthly events at Soho White City, which is really cool. It's a one in the evening. So we're doing one on Tuesday. I'm doing with Africa Group, who is an incredible speaker. He's speaking on like avoiding self-sabotage, because a lot of us can self-sabotage in different areas of our lives. But before that, yeah, we did something really crazy, because obviously we're a product business. We have apps, which do great, by the way. I think 5 Minute Journal has more than 250,000 users, maybe more, I don't know. I don't keep track, but like that's the latest stats, which is a lot. And that's what makes the money. But then we've always wanted to build communities in person as well. So last year we had this crazy idea to host an event where we can invite the most interesting people that we know in our circles, and allow them to invite their friends who are all maybe at the top of their games in different industries, and bring them together, do different workshops, and learn together. So it's like 3 days. You're in this hotel, you do a full buyout, and you just play together and learn and expand in your awareness. And it was amazing. I mean, it was a huge risk. We put a lot of money. We didn't make any money last year, but we made so many new friends, and so many incredible opportunities came out of it. And like, people ask me like, well, how do you quantify that? Some things you can't quantify right away. It's like a long-term investment. So we did it again. We were crazy enough to do it again. And we did it at Six Senses, and it's just such a beautiful property. It's just the perfect place to do it. And this year, I think we're gonna break even. And it's a lot of work, but that sense of community that's coming out of it is really valuable. It's just great people coming together. There's so many things that can come out of that. Again, people meeting and getting into relationships, starting businesses, investors finding other ventures of other people who are starting something new. So I think that's one of the biggest opportunities right now, is actually building communities in person, because we have so much that we do now virtually. I feel like a lot of us are like missing this in person gatherings of coming together and getting inspired and supporting each other and lifting each other up.
And how do you foster all of these values in your life during your week? So, for instance, how do you manage to find a perfect balance between being a mother, being an entrepreneur, and dealing with this dynamic lifestyle?
I just realized in life there's no perfection. Like, I used to be a perfectionist, and I feel like, of course, part of me still wants to be perfect. I think all of us have been conditioned to try to be perfect. I don't know where that comes from, but it's probably just the society and all the movies we watch and what we're told when we're little. But in reality, like, it's not gonna be perfect. Just like let go of that idea that it's gonna be perfect. So then you look at your life as chapters. There's different chapters where like you're in like my 20s was all about hustle, you know? Now it's like more fun, more like, you know, more being more intentional, right? So I think, yeah, it's like you know, there will be different times in your life where you'll have to focus on different things and not expect perfection. So it's maybe from the outside my life looks like it's very balanced, but in reality, I don't think it is. But that's okay, I'm totally at peace with it. Like right now, a lot of my time that I'm investing is I'm investing in relationships. Something, again, I didn't do in my 20s because I was just like work, like behind the computer all day, every day. And it was needed. I probably wouldn't be here if I didn't do that. But now I'm like, I think this is actually can bring even more opportunities, all these in-person interactions and meetings that I'm taking that I would turn down before are bringing me so many new opportunities that can expand the business, that can have such a benefit. So again, it's like also your awareness expands with time, right? So yeah, don't expect perfection. Focus on what is immediately important now. So, you know, when I first had my daughter, it was like just being a very present mom, and then, of course, still working, but ultimately, like, you know, you can never be perfect in the sense where, like, when I had Alexa, for example, I couldn't work the same amount of hours. I thought I could. And I was like, okay, well, this baby is like a full-time job. Actually, more than a full-time job, because when you have a full-time job, you have a break, you have a weekend, but with a child, you don't, right? So, yeah, just realize that there's seasons and chapters in life, and go fully in, go deep on whatever it is. At least that's what works for me.
Even if we cannot reach perfection, if you were to describe your perfect day, how would it look like?
Well, start with some sort of a morning routine, because I think it's really important to have a structure to your day. So I'm a big advocate for morning routine and a night routine. So for me, morning routine, first thing I do, I wake up early. Right now, I'm almost like a single parent because my former husband travels a lot, so I'm like with her every day, which doesn't leave a lot of time for me. So I make sure I wake up super early, 6:20, 6:30. Well, maybe for some of you that's not super early. I'm not an early bird usually, but I have to wake up an hour before her to make sure I can work out. Because for me, if I can get my workout done in the morning and I don't do anything else productive that day, I feel like my day has been accomplished. So also it like floods your brain with all these like healthy hormones, like you feel really good already about yourself, and then you know, I'll take her to school, and then, you know, I'll work, I'll have meetings. Yeah, it's like, my days are different because again, I'm at a stage in my life where I can choose my lifestyle. But before that, it was a lot of it was just being in front of the computer. So again, like having that morning routine where I do the 5-minute journal, I exercise, I have my matcha, I love matcha. Again, it gives me that sense of peace and calm. Or like just having the sprinkles of little routines in your life or habits that make you feel good about yourself. Maybe it's going for a walk. Like if I feel stressed in the day, I have a lot going on, I'm like, I'm gonna go for a run or a walk. In the park, ideally, you see trees, you see nature. I think we all are different, right? So like identify what makes you happy, what kind of, again, how can you drop back in your body? Because sometimes when you're in your head, like you feel frazzled and stressed and anxious, and that's just not good. It affects your sleep, it affects everything. So whether it's dancing, whether it's talking to a friend, you know, just having those little habits. And then before nighttime, not looking to your screen for at least, you know, like at least 30 minutes before bedtime, because again, that's gonna affect the quality of your sleep. Doing the 5-minute journal, because there's so many benefits. Like the latest science shows that if you do it first thing in the morning and right before you go to sleep, it's when your brain is the most suggestible to actually being reconditioned, like rewired. And that's why doing things like focusing on the 3 best things that happen today, even those small things, it makes you go to that place in your brain called reticular activating system. It's almost like Google search. So if you type in Google search all these negative words, what you're going to see in the world is going to be those negative things. And if every day you go to that part in your brain and you type in, or like typing, you're going there, you're feeling like, what am I grateful for? What were some things that were good today? Oh, well, maybe a stranger smiled at me, maybe I had lunch with a friend, maybe, you know, I went to the park and it was a beautiful sunny day and the sun was shining in my face and it felt so good, right? The more you focus on that, the more your brain goes there and the more of that you see. So, yeah, practicing all these things makes your day brighter. Whether you're going through separation, like I have gone in the last, 12 months, and people say like going through divorce or separation is one of the most traumatic experiences of your life. And I'm like, I genuinely don't feel this way, but I know why, because I've been practicing gratitude for years. So even in the most difficult situation, when you're going through stress, or you're going through a difficult time, you're like, but what are the good things that are coming out of this situation? And there are always tons of good things that come out of any dark, heavy, difficult situation. And ultimately you are the narrator of your story. And you can narrate it in a way where you're the victim, or you can be the one who's learning, growing, and expanding. So that's kind of my vibe.
And do you ask Alexa to join you during some of these activities? What are the values that you would like to pass on to her? What is her upbringing?
Absolutely. Ever since she was a baby, obviously, because she saw Alex and I fill out the family journal every day, she'd be like, I want to do it, but she couldn't write. And now, obviously, she writes now, so she's been filling it out. But before she could write, she would just verbally tell us. So I would be like, what are you grateful for today? What's one amazing thing that happened? I would just do one, but now she likes the adult version. We have the kids version, but she's like, no, I have so much to write, so I like the adult version. But it was so cute. I remember when she was little one time, she must have been like 3. I would be like, so what are you grateful for? And she would say all these things I personally wouldn't think of. She'd be like, and I'm grateful for my pillow, and I'm grateful for my window, and I'm grateful. And I'm like, whoa, I never even, it's like, again, this habit allows you to almost see life from that point of view of a child, where, I believe all of you will start the habit, but you will come to a time, you do it for a week, 2, there's all these new things you're writing, and at one point you're like, oh, I'm writing the same things. If you do it for a long time, a lot of times I'll write, I'm grateful for my sleep, because that's such a basic thing, but we all need it. So I always challenge everyone who is using the journal for a long period of time to try and think at least of something new that you haven't written yet. So it makes you see life with fresh eyes, what else? What else? And if you can't connect, then you're like, oh, nothing. Sometimes you feel that way, right? You're like, my day sucks, or I'm not feeling great right now. I'm not grateful for anything. Well, close your eyes and again, drop in your body. Same exercise that we started with today, right? Because when you close your eyes and you drop in your body, you're like, oh, I'm alive, I can breathe. My toes are moving, my hands are moving. There's so much. Just the body itself, just the fact that we're alive, right? So I think that's the starting point. But yeah, she uses it, and I think ultimately, for anyone who eventually will be a parent, or if some of you are, it's not about what we tell our children, it's how we live our life, right? How we model for them. They're watching us all the time. So yeah, that's why for me, I'm all about owning my authenticity and my values, because I feel if I do, I don't have to teach her. She sees it as an example, and that's what she'll embody just by observing, because I want to see what to do, right?
True. And how do you make your dreams come true? I think most of them, they came true, right? Is there a concept behind it?
It's such a heavy question. It's a big question. How do you make your dreams come true? Well, first of all, you have to dare to dream. How about that, right? Because I find I've had a few conversations in the past year where a few people mentioned that they don't have dreams. And I'm like, what? I'm the biggest dreamer you'll ever meet. And we have a favorite book that we'll share. How many of you guys have read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho? Yeah, favorite book ever. It sold I don't know how many millions of copies. But, after reading that book, I've always been a dreamer before I came across that book. But it's having a dream is so powerful. People who say they don't have dreams, I think they're just actually in denial that they're scared to dream. Because everybody can have an aspiration, and you can say a dream, you can call it something else. An intention, an aspiration, a desire. We all have some desires, right? So you cannot say I don't have a dream, because it would be impossible, right? So, but going back to that, how do you make a dream come true? Well, first allow yourself to have one, dare to dream, and then you have to believe in yourself. Because I know a lot of people who have made their dreams come true, and I'm always thinking or observing and trying to understand people, or what makes some people succeed and others not. And I've came to my own realization that it's only the fact that they're crazy enough to believe in their dreams and their wild ideas, and they go for it. It's not because they're smarter. Guys, I didn't even graduate from college. Hello, you clearly yes, it's nice to have that piece of paper, but it's it doesn't take. I don't feel I'm any special than any one of you in this room, or any one of any other people I know. But it's because I dared and I took the action and I believed in myself, right? And if you believe in yourself, then other people will believe in you. But if you don't believe in yourself, other people won't believe in you. So if you're trying to pitch them your idea, if you're trying to sell the product, I used to make YouTube videos. You watch the YouTube videos. I would wear the product, I would show the hair extensions, and like, I wouldn't even tell people to buy them. I would just show them how to do hairstyles, and they bought it. Because they're like, I want to have hair like you. Like, you have to believe in what you're selling, in your story, in your dream. And then it becomes effortless. It's very organic that way. But you have to believe. Yeah, exactly. So.
Do you mind sharing the story about The Alchemist? Because I think that this book has a really special place in your heart.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely. If you haven't read the book, read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I guarantee you will read it in like a day because it's super simple. It's a beautiful story. But you want to share the story of how I ended up. Okay, cool. So I read the book when I first moved to Toronto, and I was just like, whoa, like, this is all about me. Because as a kid, I had a dream to move away. I was born and raised in Baku, Azerbaijan, but I never really felt like I belonged there. So I always had this dream that I'll live in faraway land and travel the world. And then I was like, oh, I can't even, my passport doesn't even allow me to go anywhere. So like, to be in a situation like, look at me now, right? Like, I can say from this point of view, of course I could have believed, and no, but actually as a child in Azerbaijan, like sitting there looking at airplanes flying and like dreaming of one day to go on an airplane, but in reality, now people in Azerbaijan can get a visa and travel. Back when I was a kid, I was born during the USSR times, like, unless you were a politician or diplomat, you couldn't really travel. Like, you couldn't get a visa to go anywhere. So it was a dream just to even get on a plane. But eventually my family immigrated to Toronto, and like that dream came true, so very grateful for my parents. And yeah, reading the book was just reinforced that like you have to believe and keep going after your dreams. So The Alchemist is all about a story of like turning that dream into, whether it's gold, whether it's your business, whatever it is that you want to, again, that dream that you have, because we all have different dreams and they're all beautiful in their own way. And years later, I started the business, I had like social media presence. I was reading another book by Paulo Coelho, who is one of my favorite authors ever. If you ever asked me before, like, who is one person, dead or alive, you want to have dinner with, I would be like, Paulo Coelho, because he's so cool. I told you the story today about him. Like, he's obviously super successful now, sold millions and millions of copies around the world. But growing up, his parents sent him to a mental institution because the stuff he wrote was so out there that even his own parents thought he was crazy. So he spent a few years in a mental institution. Then he tried to publish The Alchemist. He was rejected like 10 times, and eventually somebody published, and then it went viral. But this is when I started using Instagram, and I was kind of getting a popular page. I got his new book and I posted about it, and then he saw it and he retweeted. And then we started having a conversation, and eventually, long story short, I'll spare you the details, he invited me over for dinner in his house in Geneva. And I'm sitting there, Oprah was at his house, and I'm like, who am I to be, like, how? He's the alchemist, he's the guy who wrote The Alchemist. And I was like, how did you write The Alchemist? And he looked at me, he's like, I don't know, I still don't know. So he totally channeled the book. But for me that day, I remember thinking, like, if this can happen, anything can happen. I'm just a girl from Baku, Azerbaijan, who was looking at the planes and thinking that one day maybe I'll get on one. And it's crazy, guys. Anything you can imagine, you can create. So imagine a beautiful story, because your brain has that power. Literally, you can create a negative story, you can create that. Do you want to live that? Totally up to you, right? There's no right or wrong, and there's no judgment. We all choose different paths, and there again, it's all okay because we're all here to learn different things. But if you can create a beautiful story where you get to be the main character doing whatever it is that you want to do, I can tell you, it's all possible because I've done it multiple times. And again, it doesn't mean life is going to be perfect, by the way, because it's not. Life is not about perfection. It's a journey. You're always growing, learning. It humbles you up all the time. But if you believe in yourself, it will feel more authentic as you live through life. If you honor the truth in your own dreams.
Maybe we'll ask.
Maybe if you guys have any questions, we can go into questions. Do we have an extra mic? So that maybe then we can pass the mic as well. Let me see. I had one. Testing. Oh, it worked. Right? Testing. Okay, perfect. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Hi, and if you can introduce yourself, please. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrea. Thanks for the talk today. It's
My
more
pleasure.
inspiring.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions for you, more surrounding lifestyle, or dreams and aspirations of yours. So the first one is, when you began your gratitude journey, what's one aspect of your life in which you could really tell that it was working for you, that it drastically changed your perspective?
Such a great question. So I come from a culture that's very judgmental, very cynical. And I feel like actually, if you look around the world, most cultures are, right? Like, let's be real. What's a positive culture? Like, Russians are pretty negative. British can see the glass half empty, right? So my culture is the same, like very judgmental. And when you raise them in that, you become judgmental towards yourself and others. So practicing gratitude makes me appreciate myself first. And as I appreciate myself first, like I learn to love myself more exactly the way I am, so I don't judge myself as much. And the less I judge myself, the less I judge others. So I complain less and I'm not as judgmental. So if I can narrow it down, which are like life-changing things, right? Like I just feel better about myself, and like that reflects in all of my relationships. So yeah, better relationship with yourself, better relationship with others.
Do you think there's anything specific that encouraged you to think differently than what the culture pushed you for?
Connection to my intuition. We all have it, right? But I think a lot of us, based on how we were raised and what we were told, we learn to like suppress that and not listen to it, like ignore it, disconnect, numb. Especially now with social media, it's so easy to get distracted. There's so much information, it's overwhelming, and it's noisy. It's really, really noisy. So you have to make time to connect. I feel like if we all connect, we know exactly what we need to do now, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. But it's about making that time to connect with your own truth and your own intuition. So I feel like if I reflect back on my life, I've always had a good relationship with my intuition. So that's definitely helped me along the journey. A lot of things I do don't make sense. Like even when I quit the bank, people are like, why would you quit the bank to start a business? Or at the time I actually didn't even know what business I wanted to do. So before Luxy Hair, I actually did image consulting, fashion styling. It was okay. It was a service business. I said, I never want to be in a service business, because when you're providing a service, you're still an employee in a way, right? So finished that and then started Luxy Hair. But again, following your intuition is so important, because it's your unique path and nobody can tell you what to do. You already know everything you have inside. Is there.
So I suppose that also comes with building your confidence to listen to yourself and your intuition. What steps did you take beforehand so you could do that? Because it's quite a big step already to quit such an important job that you completely rely on. Did you do anything before that gave you that confidence?
Great question. I really have to reflect. I wonder. I think being aware of your values and vision, because it's a very clear exercise that I did at the time, where I remember I was like, okay, these are my values and this is my vision, and if it doesn't align, I shouldn't keep doing it. Right? Whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's a friend circle or a friend. It's a really powerful exercise. I recommend all of you in this room to do it tonight, whenever, do it now. Pull out your phone and write down, what are my top 10 values in life that I want to live by? Right? That not want to, but I am living by. Because like the moment you say you are, right? Like you don't have to wait. It doesn't have to be in the future. You start right this second. Why don't you get good? I know we're all, if you have a paper and a pen, better to do it now. If you have a moment, and like just take a moment and write down. It doesn't have to be 10. I can finish the list after. But even if it's just 5, and then that can become your guiding North Star in life as you're making different decisions in life.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask you just one more.
Okay.
Sorry. I will give the microphone away after this. So what's the craziest thing that you have became true? The thing that you thought would absolutely never happen and one day just...
I mean, everything. Everything in my life is like, okay, living in the best neighborhood in London, being able to meet people I've always admired. Like I've met these people that, like, again, Richard Branson, like his son is like my friend now, but all of that was like on a vision board before, right? Like, how crazy. Like, everything. Of course, now I aspire for other things, and I'm like, okay, let's see how far we can go with this. But everything I was, and you know, I did this exercise again when I was in college. I did a vision board, and I was like, yeah, right, this is fun. But anyways, I'm gonna do it, it's fun. A year later, when we started the business, I looked at that vision board, only because I actually had it in the garage of my parents' house and they were moving. And we found it, and I was like, oh my God, 80% of things on that vision board came true in 1 year. And the other 20%, I actually didn't want it anymore. Because you can change it, that's okay as well. So yeah, thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Sorry, we're out of time.
No, not at all. I'm just here to pass the mic around.
Okay, thank you so much. Anybody
I think
else?
the first question was there.
Thank you so much. It was such a wonderful talk.
Thank you for being here.
inspired me. So my question is related to the world full of skepticism. How does one operate not out of fear but out of love? Like you mentioned, how does one, what are some practical steps one can take to make that happen? Thank you.
Such a great question, and yeah, I just love that you asked this. My friend Luke Gab, who is a founder of this incredible, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a workout with these headphones, and as you do it, like you're doing these like primal moves, and you listen to this inspirational talk by like Alan Watts or whatever. Anyways, I was at his event in Amsterdam that we were sponsoring, and he literally said that thing that you just mentioned. It's like every time we have a thought, every time we have a decision to make, we can pinpoint whether we are making that decision or that thought comes to us. Is it out of fear or is it out of love? So let's say you're invited to go somewhere and your initial instinct is to say no. So ask yourself, is that no from fear or is it from love? And then make a conscious choice to choose from love and not from fear. As simple as that, but it takes a lot of awareness, right? Or like somebody responds to you or doesn't respond to you, and you're upset. You're like, why is this person not messaging me back? Okay, like what can you do out of love, right? You want to message them back and be like, how come you haven't responded to me? And like, is that from fear or is that from love? Okay, if I'm gonna respond, how can I respond from love? But again, it's a lot of work. It's not, we're not gonna change overnight. Again, that whole idea of not being a perfectionist and expect yourself to be perfect is then you give up on yourself and you don't instill any of these habits that can have a life-changing effect, but it's the intention that you want to. So as you're aware of this now, every time you have a thought or an intention, out of fear, out of love. Out of love, I'm doing it. Out of fear, I'm not. Because I don't have to follow that path anymore. Thank you for your question.
I believe the next question was there.
Thank you so much. I was wondering, and I think a lot of people here might be, is that when we're just young and we're still at university, we might not be experienced enough to start our own business. So I was wondering, when was the moment and what catalyzed that moment for you when you felt confident enough to start your own business and felt like you know enough and that you're confident enough to like embark on that journey?
Again, really great question. And I'll have to say right now, if you could rephrase that, because you see how you pose the question already with, in a way, setting limitations for yourself. Are you aware of that, right? Because like I have a friend right now who's 20. She's the biggest TikToker in in Italy. 13 million followers. Dropped out of school as well. Actually dropped out of high school, she told me. I was like, whoa girl, I dropped out of college, you dropped out of high school. And she's starting a business, and I'm like, I'm so inspired by you, like it's amazing. So she's just not setting those limitations. You've been told a story, but you don't have to believe that story, right? We can choose what story we believe. And it's okay if you did for a period of time, but now you can change the story and be like, you know what? I don't need to finish. Like you can start your business at any point. You can still graduate your school and or not go to school, or go to school, right? Like there's no right or wrong, black. It's not black and white, but it's about feeling like the idea that you care about is gonna bring a solution, and you genuinely care about it. So then you're gonna take action. Because if you don't have that passion and that desire to see it out there in the world, or you have desperation, because like for me, like, yeah, the desperation gave me the fire. I was like, corporate, start a business. I need to start a business, you know, because I don't want to go back to the corporate. But the balance of both, like the desire, the passion for your idea, plus a little bit of desperation is the winning combination to actually go for it. And then having the right people, because I feel like if I didn't have my co-founder, Luxy Hair, I don't know, it was very lonely to do it on my own. So if you can find the right people to partner with, to do whatever business or project you want to do, it can be a lot more fun and you can learn, and you know, it's like you have accountability as well. Thank you for your question.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Two short questions. Actually, the first one, you talked about your community events. And I was quite intrigued by it because I feel like I was just at a conference in London 2 days ago, and it's people kind of struggle to connect when you don't know someone. It's like, how do you talk to someone, or like what value are they providing? So I'm just wondering kind of what was your idea with these communities? How do you create these communities? How do you make sure people actually get speaking out and like connect with other people? Do you have any, how do you set up and set it up?
I think the curation, like for the events we're doing in Ibiza, it's all curated. And the first year we did it, we're like, well, we know a lot of successful people, fine. But it's not just about successful people, right? Like for us, it was like, okay, successful people who have good heart. And it was very interesting because it was our first event. And then, you know, the day in already, you could sense like the energy in the room was electric. And the most beautiful thing that I noticed, because I go to a lot of events as well, but not a lot of times you go to events, like, what do you do, what do you do, what do you do? And it's like everyone was trying to like, you know, brag about what they do. And even though this crowd was like, they're all doing insane things, nobody asked that question. It was like, how do you feel? You know, what did you do today? Because there's obviously all these workshops. So people connected on a very deeper level. So like curation is really important. But for example, events that we do in London, which is just an evening event, we don't curate anyone to buy the ticket. So then you prompt people. I find that, you know, I do different exercises where I'm like, well, write something down and I'll share with the person next to you. And I always tell people, like, the best thing about these events is that you can walk away with a new friend. Or maybe you'll meet your significant other. You just never know. But I feel like prompting people to open up and, you know, you kind of have to give them direction. Otherwise, people kind of go into, like, the weather talk and, like, what you do. And it's just, like, you stay shallow. But I find that when we find that we have some values, similar values or similar struggles, we connect on a much deeper level that opens us up to a much deeper connection and, you know, potentially new friendship. Thank you.
Hi Mimi,
Hi.
Archie, a company called Entrepreneurship. Today I'm very grateful that I decided to come and learn about you.
Thank you for being here.
My question is, it seems to me that I think the best definition for good mental health is maximizing the amount of time you spend in a state of agency and gratitude across your life. And I think a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs and especially neurodivergent people, struggle a lot with finding the right balance where you focus so much on agency and building and creating that you forget to appreciate what you have, or you focus so much on the present and being grateful for what you do have that you don't spend enough energy and time building towards goals. Wondering, what have you found to be some good ways to strike that right balance?
Good question. I think it's a journey, honestly. It's, again, going back to that idealism and trying to be perfect. You know, it's a journey and it's going to evolve and it's going to change and it's going to look differently. And I think, again, we have different phases of life where, you know, we might feel better and other times where we'll struggle a bit more. But ultimately, I feel like if you have the right habits, you kind of pick up and you expand on that. But can you elaborate maybe? Because I definitely want to get to, does that make sense or no?
Yeah, sort of.
Maybe it's something I still struggle with, because I feel like, you know, like mostly I feel grateful and happy, but of course there's days I feel sad. It's like we're human, we have different emotions. And yeah, it's definitely not perfect, but like I feel like I don't expect it to be. So I almost like, I don't know. Yeah, how do you gauge if you know if you're, I guess the fact is how you feel on the inside. Like people always ask like, like what is success? But ultimately, I think success is like how do you feel on the inside, and not about like feeling happy and grateful all the time, but like you feel like you're on the right path. And that might feel like a sad day sometimes, right? But you still feel like it's the right thing. Like you're in the right place and like you feel good about where you are. I think that's kind of how I gauge it personally. But again, it doesn't mean that I'm happy that day, you know, but you recover much faster when you are practicing for your brain to go in those places. And again, there's so much science. I didn't talk about the science, but there is so much science. I did a whole workshop on gratitude recently where, you know, there's a part of your brain called hypothalamus that every time you practice gratitude, it like floods your brain with dopamine. And it makes you feel so good that actually encourages you to do it more often. So the more you do it, you do feel it in very subtle ways, and that it makes you want to practice more. But again, if you stop, it's okay. Like I fall out of habit of practicing gratitude all the time, and then when I realize I'm out of the habit, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start it again. It's just like physical exercise, right? If you exercise for long enough, you're gonna see results, and you're like, oh, I like my new muscles, and like, you know, I maybe lost some weight if you need to, maybe you don't, maybe you've gained weight because that's what you want to do, right? But it's about going there often enough and being okay with not being perfect. I think that's really key, because I think subliminally we all try to attain that perfection, but it doesn't make sense. Just let go. Be a human. Thank you for your question.
Thank you for the question. I kind of wanted to ask you if you ever got to a point where you were like, should I really do this, or how did you get over a hump in your entrepreneurial journey? And for example, I wanted to do a physical product, and I kind of ordered it on Alibaba, like you said, like a sample, and then I kind of got frozen. I was like, okay, how do I deal with manufacturers? How do I get everything started, kind of? I don't know if you had that or something that helped you in that position.
Are you just doing it all on your own?
At the moment, yes.
It's tough, honestly. Like, I have so many friends in similar situations, and you know, it's tricky. It's tricky to do it all yourself. Like, I'm not gonna say I did the fashion styling on my own, but that's very different because it was service business. Like, I don't know if I could do it all, but I know people who do it all as well, and they're successful. But then it's about finding someone to still, like, you need to outsource certain parts at some point that, like, you don't know how to do. Like, for me, accounting, never. You know, maybe someday, but who knows. But yeah, like, if I speak of my personal journey, like, there's so many businesses I like invested in, like, personally. Like, I tried to create shoe brand, for example. I went to the best factories in Tuscany, all of that. I was never happy with the product for me to launch. So money, time, everything wasted, but it's not, because at the end of the day, I don't feel like there are any failures, because every time you try, you learn. And maybe you change your mind, I'm like, I don't want to do shoes, like, maybe someday, but like, it's the most complicated thing to ever do. So I have a lot of respect for anyone who does it, but I think it's, if you can find people that align with your vision, and you can find a co-founder and a partner to start with, I think it can be super, super beneficial, because doing it on your own is extremely difficult. And again, unless you know how to do all the areas, which clearly you just mentioned that you struggle with that. I feel like, yeah, that's one reason why many people give up. They have a brilliant idea, they want to do it, but like they don't have the capacity to do it all on their own, because also you have a life outside of that. You know, maybe you have a job, maybe you're in school, you have relationships, right? So how? So splitting that to someone who believes in that, has the same values, that is something that you can do. It can definitely move the needle, but also it's the accountability. Because sometimes we self-sabotage. Maybe you're not doing it. I actually have somebody in this room who has created the products, who are beautiful.
Just there in the box.
Even I went and photographed. I was in Thailand. I'm like, I took your necklace. She created a beautiful jewelry line that she handmade. I took the pictures. I was away on a holiday, took the product pictures. She took the product pictures. And there's a block where she hasn't yet. I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. But maybe it's a good thing. I'm like, so when is it gonna go live? When can I tag it so people can buy?
I don't even know what I'm scared of. I'm gonna be honest. I don't even know.
Sometimes it can be self-sabotage. So you really have to be honest with yourself. What is it? Is it because you don't know how to do it, or are you self-sabotaging, right?
No, I think I know it. It's like now it's small, but what if it becomes too big? Then how do I handle it?
But you haven't even started, you haven't even
So
sold
that's why
one,
I'm not even-
and you're already going there, but it's
Yeah,
not.
but because I'm thinking then I'll have to do it manufacturing. And the whole thing about the factory, sourcing, like how you more people, employees.
Just start, just do it now, one step at a time, and then you
Next
figure
week.
it out.
Okay, next week.
Okay, you should promise in front of everyone, okay? You better.
Oh my god, next week is tomorrow.
Oh my god, next week is tomorrow, you're right. Oh boy.
Yeah, okay. So,
We'll be checking your Instagram.
okay, I have to actually do it. It's a possibility.
Hello.
Sorry. I'm Valeria, and I'm I'm actually really interested in some of the bits you mentioned about maybe some of the not even feelers, but like also like practical answers or something. When you said that you were trying to launch a whole lot of other things and you didn't proceed with those plans. So I think like you've partially already answered like how do you deal with failures in 2 lessons. I was thinking like do you like have you I think like it's one of the processes like do you always have like a backup plan in the back of your mind, or is it like something you would want people to have, or just like all in and like having backup plans for like individual?
We have to go all in, no backup plans. All in, baby. But you also know that like it's like doing it, but not having the attachment that it's gonna work. Like you have the intention and desire and a dream that it's gonna work, but you're not like, because I feel like when we're so attached to the outcome, and again, this applies to everything, relationships, like everything. It's like you gotta put your best foot forward, but like know that you might potentially fail. And that's the unknown in life, right? Like all of it is unknown. You might think that life is safe, but all of it is not. It is and it's not. It's like the duality of life, right? You might succeed and you might fail. It's 50-50, or maybe it's 90-10, but like it's worth the risk because that's what you're here for, right? Like you're here to live. You're not just here to sit in your comfort bubble zone, unless that's the path you choose. Nothing wrong with that. But that's not what I'm here for, right? So there's many projects that fail. Many projects that I never even talked about because it's like it doesn't matter, they didn't work out. But I've learned so much in the process. It's like relationships. Just because they don't work out, should you never open your heart to love? Maybe you fall in love with someone and it lasts a month or a day or a year or 16 years, right? But you will learn something and that will evolve you as a human. And that's the point. It's not the outcome. It's like, I know it's a cliche, but it's the journey, not the milestone. Although the milestone is nice too, but the journey is really important, and it builds us for something else perhaps that we haven't even thought of yet, because it's like life unfolds in chapters. So, I don't stress about it anymore because I know it's gonna happen. And I think when you're like okay to fail, it's like you're not so scared to actually take the risk and be bold and exercise courage.
Thank you very much. I just had a really quick question.
Okay.
So you mentioned that you realized after giving the service, you realized you don't want to do that anymore, especially some products. Do you have any other lessons you learned from those experiments? That's
Like service versus product, or
have you learned any more lessons that you think would be useful for us to kind of keep in mind, or
I think whatever you do, choose something that you care about. This business is gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard, right? I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. But if you care about what you do, it doesn't feel hard, and also it doesn't feel like work. I genuinely don't feel like I've been working since 2010, because that's when I started Luxy Hair, and I love, because my role always in the business was creative, social media, creative marketing. I didn't touch operations because I don't get that part. So Alex, you do that. And eventually we outsourced a lot of it, right? Most of it now. But focus on what you know, focus on what you enjoy. And yeah, sorry, does that answer your question? Thank you.
actually trying to ask a question, but I think
I'm happy you're asking. Actually, I really appreciate that a lot of you guys have asked questions. I love that. Thank you.
It's because it was such grounded discussion about entrepreneurial journey, and I could, as an 18th skate master, I could actually see a lot of those problems. So one question that I have actually is, when you were starting out, or before many of us are, did you have these demons where you keep constantly asking yourself, what I'm doing now versus what I had before, is it worth it? Like for example, let's say you work in CIBC, earning good enough money, then you have to do something on your own. Like these type of demons, do they come as well? Like for me, it's a constant thing. Is it worth it? To pull your blood and sweat without any results per se.
Thank you for your question. There's a great book on this called Do the Work by Stephen Pressfield that I would recommend all of you to listen to or read. It's on Audible if you do Audible. It's like super short. The reason I mention it is he talks, the whole book is all about like that voice of resistance. And it's mostly geared towards artists, but I feel like entrepreneurs are artists. Like you're creating a product, you're creating something that doesn't exist, right? So he mentions that a voice of resistance will always be there. And it's true, like I've been doing, like putting myself on camera, right? Because that's part of what I do. Like, I make videos, I used to make a lot of videos for products. I do less of that now because I don't need to as much. But like Luxy Hair marketing for the first 5 years was just me making videos. We literally didn't spend any money into marketing for 5 years because it was just, I did like 300 YouTube videos on Luxy Hair. And that's how the product sold, that's how people discovered it. But like, was there a voice of resistance? All the time. And it still is sometimes, right? Like, I'm not gonna lie. But I think going back to the other question is like, you have to go fully in. Like, you can't go 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You just can't. Because then you're always gonna look back and like, make a decision. Like what, and that's why I think the values is really important. Listen, if safety is your top value, and it is my dad's top value, that's why he worked for safe jobs his whole life. Even recently when I told him about my separation, because I flew to Lisbon, my parents lived there, and I was like, I'm separating from Alex, and he's like, but safety, I'm like, but safety is your top value, my top value is freedom. So I'm making this decision because like I need to feel free for whatever reasons, right? So it's like, it's so important, whatever life decision you're making, whether business or life, like what are your values? And if it aligns more with your values, like deep in your heart you're making the right decision, because now you're more in alignment with your values. And yeah, the path is not going to be easier, most likely. It might be much harder, like my path right now. But I feel good about it. And ultimately, because I feel good about it, I know I'm doing the right thing. And I know I'm going to grow and expand in ways I can't even imagine right now. So that's what it will allow you to do. Where staying in that safe place, like you can kind of, know exactly what's going to happen. Like, okay, if that excites you, stay there. That's fine, nothing wrong with that, no judgment at all. But is that your vision? Does this align with your values? These are some things to think about.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Final question, so we have some time to do some informal talking with Mimi afterwards. Thank you.
Hi Mimi, I'm Maha. I study social innovation and I genuinely very deeply respect how value-driven you are. My question is, what advice do you have for aspiring social entrepreneurs who are trying to generate profit but also social impact at the same time? And also female leaders in this space, even women of color. Obviously when you become an entrepreneur, you also become a leader in many ways. So what advice do you have to them?
Thank you for your question. Well, first of all, I think there's no better time to be a female entrepreneur. It's really the best time because I feel like there's so many more doors are being opened. I always felt equal. To be honest, I grew up in Morocco, Azerbaijan. You would think okay, it's a Muslim country, whatever. I never felt like I was less than that. I think it's also a story we tell ourselves, but it's fine. There's still a lot of that happening, right? But I think ultimately, what advice? Be courageous. That's it. It all goes down, whether you're man or woman, whether you're starting something or not. You know, eventually, if you want to follow a path that's authentic to you and you want to start something, you're gonna have to use your courage. And it's very uncomfortable, because again, it's like, okay, we haven't been taught how to do that. Like, we've been taught how to fit in. Standing out is not comfortable, you know, but it's how you stand out and you make it in life, right? So you gotta talk about what you're passionate about. You gotta go meet people that you believe will believe in you, will support you, will back you up, will invest, right? And if you believe in that, you will, you know, like the story will come out. Like you have to be courageous enough to tell about, like talk about and share the story that you care about. And only you can do that in the way that you can. But small steps. Great. Thank you all for being here.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Share your biggest takeaway from Mimi's stories in the comments, and I will pin the best one. Subscribe for more interviews.